What's good, y'all? We back. We on the road. Top of the day to you, Raisin Toast. We got Earl Nightingale today. Let's get it. 5 in the morning. Hey, hey, hey.
I was
Okay.
poking about in some old files and came across a couple of quotations I'd made notes on some time back. I don't know who to credit them to, but they're of the kind that make you stop and think a while. The first one goes, nature magically suits the man to his fortunes by making these the fruit of his character. A man's fortunes are the fruit of his character.
Huh.
They tell what kind of a tree, what kind of a producer he is, qualitatively as well as quantitatively.
Hmm.
You know, it's sobering to realize, if we've been adults for any appreciable length of time, that we have only to assess our fortunes to take an honest, even merciless, good long look at who and what we really are. Socrates' admonition, know thyself, becomes within the realm of possibility here. If you want to know what kind of a tree you're looking at, you look at its fruit. You examine its leaves. You see what it's putting out. Once you know that, you know what kind of a tree it is. It's the same with a person. What does he produce? Laughter, happiness, good cheer, friendliness, love? And how about his or her work? How does it stack up?
Yep.
Does he or she turn out a quality product in that which he or she has chosen to produce? You know, we have to remember that word chosen. You'd be amazed at the number of people who seem to have forgotten that they have chosen of their own free will the situation in which they find their daily existence, their world. That is, if they've been adults for any appreciable period of time. The second quotation starts out as did the first one, but it has a different ending. It goes, a man's fortunes are the fruit of his character. A man's friends are his magnetisms. Here we get a chance to examine our collection of friends. They too will tell a good deal about us. Their number tells a good deal about us, whether they're many or few or zero. Tells us whether we have the kind of personality and makeup that attracts people to us or leaves them cold. This need have no or at least little effect upon our work. We can be fine producers, wonderfully successful from the standpoint of turning out a great product, whatever that happens to be, without being winners in the friends department. There have always been people who could do great things for people in great numbers, such as writers, musicians, artists of all kinds, manufacturers, the list is endless, but who had trouble or were not in the least interested in people individually. These people seem to deplete themselves in their work and have no time left over for friends, or at least not for very many. But in assessing who and what we are, it's good to remember that nature magically suits the man to his fortunes by making these the fruit of his character. You see, we can change, we can improve upon our character. It isn't fixed like our bone structure. It is rather important. You might want to pass this along to your kids or someone else important to you. Nature magically suits the man to his fortunes by making these the fruit of his character. People who play it too safe take the greatest risks. And in the long haul, the intelligent risk takers develop the greatest security. It's a wise person who learns the importance of risk taking. Dr. E. Paul Torrance, a University of Georgia psychologist, made a study during World War II of United States aces flying in the Pacific Theater of Operation. And he reported that the most salient characteristic of the ace is his risk-taking ability. Throughout his life, he had kept testing the limits of his abilities, and the life histories of these men showed that they were highly resistant to accidents, and in combat they suffered fewer casualties than pilots who were inclined to play it safe. Dr. Torrance said, living itself is a risky business. If we spent half as much time learning how to take risks as we spent avoiding them, we wouldn't have nearly so much to fear in life. In all walks of life, the most successful people are the risk takers. By that I mean they risk believing in their own ideas, striking out toward their own goals, standing up for what they believe to be right. They take the risk of being different when they believe in something. This has a tendency to make the going a little tougher for a while, but they almost always wind up ahead of the game eventually. Risk takers realize there's nothing wrong with an occasional failure. The play it safer seem to think a failure means the end of the world. The risk takers are not foolhardy. Getting back to the World War II aces for a moment, it was found that these men were very fussy about their airplanes, their armament, and equipment. They were painstaking in preparation and highly disciplined in following instructions and what they'd been taught. But in an encounter with the enemy, they would immediately take charge and go on the offense. The best defense is often a good offense. The best pass defense in football is to rush the quarterback. When a big storm comes up, ships in the harbor head for the raging open sea, unless they're protected in slips. In the harbor, they could drag their anchors and wind up on the beach or the breakwater. So what appears to be risk-taking is often the most intelligent course to follow. It leads to security, while what would appear to be the safest course of action can lead to disaster or simply nowhere at all. A young woman whose romance had gone on the rocks told her mother one time that she was never going to permit herself to fall in love again. You only get hurt, she said. And if you don't fall in love, her mother said, you don't live. It's another one of those risks that the successful person is willing. So what appears to be risk-taking is often the most intelligent course to follow. It leads to security, while what would appear to be the safest course of action can lead to disaster or simply nowhere at all. A young woman whose romance had gone on the rocks told her mother one time that she was never going to permit herself to fall in love again. You only get hurt, she said. And if you don't fall in love, her mother said, you don't live. It appeared to be the safest course of action can lead to disaster or simply nowhere at all. Everyone runs risks, quite sizable risks every day of his life. Risks he takes for granted or isn't even aware of. So when an unusual situation comes along that involves risk-taking, how do you decide whether or not to go ahead? Well, when a situation comes along that involves risk and you don't know whether to go ahead or hold back, reassess your goals. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you working toward? Will taking this risk, if it works out successfully, help you toward your goals?
Clarity and common sense from Earl Nightingale. This is Dan Strutzel for Insight. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us again next time when you'll learn more from today's leading experts on achieving success in all areas of your life.
What a quick one. I like these hot ones. They quick. It's windy. What's the opposite of apologize? You're welcome that it's so windy. I bet it gives y'all a very nice natural vibe. Feeling a piece of wind interference.
Hi there. This is Vic Conant back with your friends from Nightingale Conant with this month's issue of Insight. As always, our goal is to add to your life some real value through the great ideas from our wonderful authors. Communication is our topic for today. And for my part, I'd like to share with you a communication idea that relates to one of the most important areas in our lives, our ability to effectively communicate with our spouses or significant others. One of the greatest books on the topic of relationship communications that I've ever run across is called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman and published by Northfield Publishing. Gary Chapman is a marriage counselor, and he's discovered that different people have different ways they prefer to receive the communication of love from their mate. He calls these communication preferences love languages. What's fascinating is that through his career, he's found 5 different love languages that seem to encapsulate everyone's love communication preferences. And like a foreign language, if you're speaking one language and your spouse is speaking another one, you can be in serious trouble and not even know it. In his book, Gary goes over example after example of couples who are on the verge of divorce. One couple who virtually had not spoken to each other for over 30 years, who ended up in love again and on their way to a second honeymoon, simply because they learned to properly express their spouse's love language. Gary says that each of us has what he likens to an emotional love tank. And this tank can be filled with loving feelings, or it can be virtually empty if we aren't receiving the proper type of loving communications. As we go through this exercise, start thinking about how filled your love tank is. Also, as I describe the 5 love languages, start thinking about which one you most gravitate toward. Gary says each of us will prefer one love language over the rest, and will each probably have a different ranking from the most important to the least important. The first love language is words of affirmation. With words of affirmation, you use positive statements to show your love to another. And also, you desire to hear affirmative statements yourself to feel loved. Gary says verbal compliments or words of appreciation are powerful communicators of love. Some simple examples are, "You really look beautiful tonight," or "You must be the best cook in the world," or "I really appreciate you always taking out the garbage." If you personally feel good when people compliment you, and if you find it easy to give other people verbal affirmations, this may be your primary love language. Okay, that was words of affirmation.
That's
Next
probably
is
me.
quality time.
Oh no.
This is feeling emotionally filled when your significant other gives you her full, undivided attention. You will also have the need to show your love to someone else in the same way by giving that person your focused attention. One way to give someone quality time is through quality conversations, when you're sharing with each other your thoughts, feelings, and desires. Gary is quick to point out that this doesn't include giving advice. It's strictly listening sympathetically, not interrupting,
Right.
and then sharing yourself from the heart. Gary also points out that having the TV on while communicating doesn't qualify as quality time.
Facts.
That's one I always try to sneak in. Another one I find myself doing is reading the mail or a magazine while my wife Marilee is talking to me.
That's tough.
Just being in close proximity doesn't count.
No.
We're talking about spending time looking into each other's eyes and really communicating.
Right.
Another way to express quality time is through quality activities. This includes doing things with your mate that he enjoys in order to show your love. Day trips, gardening, going out to dinner, playing games, vacationing, and taking walks together are all potentially quality activities. So how does quality time feel to you as a love language? Now we've had words of affirmation and quality time.
Oh yeah.
The next love language is acts of service.
Oh yeah. That's
Doing
me.
things for your mate that makes her happy.
Oh.
You express your love by happily serving her.
Yep.
If this is your spouse's love language, her love tank will be filled up when you do things for her. Cooking, setting the table, doing the dishes, vacuuming the house, and washing the car are examples of acts of service. An act of service requires thought, planning, time, effort, and energy. If done with a positive attitude, it's an expression of love.
It really is.
Gary says that the act of service should be requested, not demanded. Demanding will just end up being counterproductive and make your mate resent doing things for you.
Facts. Sure.
The fourth love language is receiving gifts. All throughout the ages, in every culture throughout the world,
That's
people
my homie
express
Morgan.
love by giving gifts.
Yeah, that's hers.
Gifts are a physical and visual symbol of love. A wedding ring is an example. Gifts don't have to be expensive. They can be purchased, found, or made. A single flower or a card counts. It's the thought and creativity behind the gift that's important. A gift shows that your mate remembered you and took the time and effort to give you something to show he loves you. Okay, how does receiving gifts resonate with you as your love language?
It's all right.
Finally, Gary Chapman says the fifth love language is physical touch. Studies have shown that a child will die if it's denied physical touch, and for some of us, touching is the strongest indicator that we're loved. Holding hands, hugging, kissing, sexual intercourse, as well as just putting a hand on the other person, or sitting close together when you're watching TV are all examples of physical touch. Okay, here's the list again. Words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, receiving gifts, and physical touch. Do you have a feeling for which one is your primary love language? How about your spouse? If you're not sure what your primary love language is yet, here are a few tips Gary gives us.
Easily.
What does your spouse do or fail to do that hurts you most deeply? When you get that in mind, the
Service.
opposite is probably your love language.
That's facts.
For example, maybe your husband doesn't pick up his clothes and that drives you crazy. That would be an indicator that your language might be acts of service. Next, what have you most often requested from your spouse? This probably indicates the thing you most need to feel loved. Finally, how do you usually express your love to your spouse? This may be an indication that would also make you feel loved.
This is surprising to me.
Now he suggests, when you have time, that you make a list of the 5 love languages and rank order them, and ask your mate to do the same. Marilee and I have had a lot of fun at small dinner parties getting people to go through this process by picking out their primary love languages. It makes for a stimulating conversation. But beyond a party game, why is it important to know what the primary and even secondary love language is for you and your spouse? As we said earlier, like a foreign language, you may be trying to communicate your love in a way that makes perfect sense to you but doesn't even register on the Richter scale with your spouse.